Hey guys, you are listening to the Simple Electronics podcast. I'm your host, Simple Electronics. Welcome to episode 5, where I have a special guest with me, Steven the RCtinkerer. How are you, Steven?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm pretty good, I have to say. So my viewers probably know a little bit about me. Can you tell them a little bit about you?
Sure. I started in electronics just this last year due to this whole pandemic. It's kind of brought me inside more, and a lot of what I do it revolves around RC cars and installing lights, motors, trying to do custom things. So it's brought me in the shop and fired up the soldering iron.
It's always a good day, the first day you fire up the soldering iron. What do you use for a soldering iron?
I use a Ryobi. I'm not sure the model number. Let's see. It's the Ryobi soldering iron. It's adjustable temperature. Comes with a couple tips. You can also throw a 18-volt battery pack on it and make it portable. So it's pretty useful.
So it plugs into the wall, but it also works on Ryobi's sort of lithium-based batteries?
Right. Yeah, so I have their drill, their Sawzall, that kind of whole kit. And this was a nice addition.
I think that's an important thing for beginners to keep in mind. If you're shopping for a soldering iron, it's like really tempting to go get that, the Harbor Freight style, the one without the temperature control. But I think the temperature control is key, because if you're learning, you don't want to be doubting your equipment, right? You want something that'll work for you right off the bat.
Right, I totally agree. Yeah, my first soldering iron was like a 30 watt. I got our local hobby town, which carries Radio Shack stuff in it now, and it works fine. But thicker gauge wire, you definitely want to crank up the heat to make that bond. So yeah, I agree with you. The adjustable temperature is definitely key.
I use something around the 65 watts for my soldering iron. I find that that's a good balance. You can still do like nice fine stuff with the temperature adjustment, but you still have enough kind of thermal mass to do bigger things. And since you're into RCs, and some of the listeners may be into RCs as well, you do need something kind of thick, because some brushless motors demand a lot of current, right?
Correct. Yeah, you're dealing with around 12 gauge wire, and yeah, you definitely need something that can put out the heat, and also chisel tip definitely helps with that.
I'm a big fan of the chisel tip. Basically, I think that the people using those circular, first of all, the conical tips, and also the flat circular ones, those people don't know where it's at. It's all about the chisel tip for me.
Right.
I mean, you do you, viewers out there. The important part is that you're actually soldering. But if you haven't tried the chisel tip, I highly recommend it. Chisel's the way to go. So what kind of RC cars do you drive? Because I've had some RC cars, but I typically go for the higher speed, high suspension travel type of stuff. But you're doing it a little bit different, are you?
Yeah, I started out about 20 years ago. I had a monster truck, fell out of it, life happened, got married, college, kids, the whole thing, sold it. And then as my boys got older, they wanted something, that was faster, and, their Target, Walmart, brand cars start falling apart. So I suggested, investing in a hobby grade cars for them. We got them used, and then I got myself one, and I got back in the hobby. So we have the Traxxas Slash 2x4 stadium trucks. They're great, brushed or brushless. And then I got into RC rock crawling, and that's kind of where my sweet spot is right now. Just really enjoying that.
Yeah. So if people are traditionally RC car enthusiasts, they're probably what the hobby would call bashers, right? That would be the slashes, the Traxxas slashes. I personally had a Revo. My friends had Savages, which are basically the Revo is sort of like I don't know. It's like a trophy truck, I guess. The suspension is has a lay down F1 suspension, and the and the Savage is more of a monster truck type thing. But rock crawling, it's not. If I'm not mistaken, it's more about precision than actual speed, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's about, you're driving slow. There's a lot of torque involved. 4x4 trucks. Yeah, it's all about trying to defy gravity.
And I have to say, I'm not big into rock crawling, but there is one type of rock crawling that I would be totally into, and it's something that's accessible for everybody. Is that they make one? I'm trying to remember the scale. I think it's 1/64th or 1/32nd scale RC crawlers that you can crawl around your desk with.
Yeah, it's a up and coming subgroup of the hobby. It's a 1/24 scale.
1/24th. That's what it
I'm
is.
looking to get one of those too.
Yeah, I would love one of those to just run around the desk while I watch YouTube or I finish my edit or I export videos or whatever. It's a great time passer, and if it rains outside, I mean, you're going to be stuck inside anyways, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't get a lot of rain here, but the heat's killing us. So I'm thinking about doing the same thing. Yeah, put it on the couch and you have yourself a course with all the pillows.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, if you have a 3D printer, you can 3D print literally any obstacle, and it'll only take about an hour to print like 10 obstacles at the same time, and then you can practice your precision driving, which will then translate into your full size rock crawling, right?
Right. Yeah, those little trucks definitely have all the same, yeah, articulation and servo steering that the 10th scale ones and full scales definitely have. So yeah, it definitely translates.
So what's your daily driver then? What's your main rock crawling rig?
My go-to is it's an Element RC Enduro. It's a great truck. They came out with the truck about a year ago, and it has a lot of the stuff they packed in some aftermarket upgrades that a lot of people were doing after the fact, so it was all ready to go. For instance, some like overdrive gears that helped the front tires spin faster than the back, so it helped climb. A lot of people were doing that after the fact, and the company already packed those gears into the truck, so you could swap them out easily.
So you're saying it's not like a true four-wheel drive in the automotive sense of it, where you lock the front wheels and the rear wheels, everything's going the same speed. These actually have a different ratio front and back?
Correct. Yeah, so the stock ratio, they both spin at the same speed, but due to these gears that you put in, that swap out the gears in the transmission, they spin, yeah, the ratio is different, and so they spin a little faster.
That's really interesting. I would never would have thought that would have been an advantage, because obviously coming from the full size world, I'm an automotive mechanic by trade. I would have thought that having all four wheels spinning the exact same speed would be the best way to do it. So is this a selectable gear, or it's just once you install the upgrade, it's permanently going a little bit faster in the front than the rear?
It's permanently faster.
Interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, but some of these crawlers actually run two motors, like one in the front and one in the back.
That might be, a custom, competition type of a crawler, but most of the guys that I've seen, I would say 90, you're talking in the high 90%. You only use one.
Okay, so it has like sort of a central motor with I'm guessing two spur gears, and then it drives the front and the rear, and I'm guessing there's no differential really for different speeds left to right? It's just, it would be a locked diff at that point.
Yeah, so it's one spur gear, a pinion gear, and then a motor, and then it outputs it to front back axles. And some trucks have 2-speed transmission, and you can, some of them also you can lock out on the fly. You can lock out the differentials. So it depends on what you want and how much money you want to spend on it.
That's fancy. I know I have a Nitro Revo, and I ripped out the reverse gear because just the fact of shifting, it's a tiny, I mean, the truck is big, but it's a tiny transmission. It fits in the palm of your hand, and just the extra complexity of having one gear that has to be able to slide back and forth to engage reverse, it broke all the time. So I just removed it altogether. So I can just imagine the extra mechanism in the differentials at the axles to have a little slide mechanism to be able to shift into a low gear or to lock the differential or not. That adds some serious complexity there.
Yeah, it does. They do something like that, and also adds more, in my opinion, adds more things to break. So I stuck with one gear, since you're not going to use most of the time in rock crawling. You're not going to use the high speed gear anyways.
Yeah, it makes sense. I have a friend of mine who actually bought I think Traxxas has a rock crawler now, and he bought that, and he was disappointed in it because he was looking for a bashing car, and really he bought a high-speed rock crawler, which is just not the same, right? It won't achieve the same things.
No, it won't. Even in high speed. I mean, it is fast, but not as fast as a basher.
So what kind of batteries does your rock crawler use? Are you using the old school nickel type batteries, or are you doing Lipos now?
I switched to Lipos within the last 2 years, just due to the performance and weight. I was a little hesitant due to some of the horror stories I've heard. But after I learned how to properly treat them and store them, I'm using 2-cell lithium polymer batteries right now. I'm looking to switch to 3 cells.
Okay, and that's going to affect your gearing too, because you're basically, if you guys don't know, the speed controller on these RC cars, they just chop up the voltage coming in, whatever voltage coming in, and that equates to the speed at which the motor spins. So when you increase the voltage by going from 2-cell, which is nominal 7.4 volts, something like that, to a 3-cell nominal 11.1, theoretically, aside from friction losses and whatever, you're actually going to get a third. Your motor is going to spin a third faster. So how does that affect you as a rock crawler, though?
So that gives you. It depends on you need to drop your pinion gear down, which I did. So my gear ratio is lower. So when I add more voltage, it'll give me more torque, and it'll give me more wheel speed when I need to kind of bump over a ledge. So that definitely helps. A little bit more pep. Yeah,
that's the beauty of gearing, right? You're trading speed for torque. You can't have both. You can't have a car that maxes out at an RC car that maxes out at 110 miles an hour, which there's some there are, and have a car that has low end pep. You can't have both. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so, what kind of charger did you buy for your Lipos? I know some people have their preferences. I have mine. What did you get?
Let's see what I run. I run a Electron. I think it's an 80 watt charger.
Okay.
And it is multiple chemistry. So I do still have my nickel metal hydride batteries. I usually let the boys run those, just because you can run them out, throw them back on the charger fairly quickly, and charge them back up again. But it does lithium polymer, nickel metal hydride. I think it still does the nickel cadmium batteries, but
which is all but dead at this point.
Exactly, yeah. But with the lithium polymer batteries, I balance charge the batteries as I'm charging them, so it charges the cells equally at the same time. So it has a balance port card on the side, and everybody told me that was key.
Oh, 100%.
Because that's where a lot of the lithium polymer accidents happen, is while charging, and either you're just charging it too much or overcharging it, and that's where you have puff cells and potential for fire.
Absolutely. So if for the viewers out there, if you have a lithium polymer battery, and we're talking about 2 cells or 3 cells or more, talking about multiple cells, if you have a charger that just outputs the maximum voltage that a lithium polymer battery should have, and you have one cell that starts becoming lazy, then it will actually keep its voltage down. It'll pull the voltage down on the just for itself, which means the other two batteries, in the case of a 3-cell, like a 3 series cell battery, will have to actually absorb that extra voltage. And that's when you start overcharging the additional cells. And when you overcharge a cell, it has a potential to catch fire. And a nominal, like a maximum voltage on a lithium polymer cell is about 4.2 volts. And I think the tolerance is about 50 millivolts. So at 4.25, you're still okay, but it's not ideal. But at 4.26, at that point, I believe you can actually start, you're going towards the fire risk very quickly. And if you're at like 4.3 or 4.4, you're almost guaranteed to have a lithium fire, which is, it's not a good thing. So I use an iCharger 208B personally. It was one of my big purchases when I was starting in the RC hobby, and I have no regrets. That thing is awesome. It's 350 watt maximum, does up to 8 cells in series, multi-chemistry, all the good stuff. But I think a good lithium charger is required if you want to enter the hobby. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. Yeah.
And also a multimeter. I would say if you're getting into the RC electric hobby, get yourself a multimeter, because it'll help you diagnose problems with your RC, for example, like a servo acting up or something, and it'll help you check the voltages on your Lipos, which is super important. Do you have a multimeter at hand?
Yeah, I do. I got it. It's one of those freebies at Harbor Freight. Works great.
I actually have one of those. Another maker. I don't know if you watch another maker's YouTube channel, but if you don't, you should, and that goes to the viewers too. He sent me one because I was actually curious to see what all the fuss was about. So in the future video, I'm going to run it through its paces and check its accuracy. But for the most part, like, you only need something that's 1 volt accurate. So like if your servo is getting 5.5 volts or 6 volts, it'll still work just the same. Like, you don't have to be so concerned about it. It's only the lithium polymer batteries that you need the really specific voltages from.
Right. And these new speed controllers that are basically a go-between between the battery and the motor. A lot of them, they either have a default, or you can program the Lipo cutoff, lithium polymer cutoff, at a certain voltage. So
Absolutely.
when you're running the car, you don't have to worry about that, as long as you've did your homework and programmed it ahead of time.
And that's typically around, if I'm not mistaken, around 3.3 volts per cell. But theoretically, if you look at the manufacturers of the cylindrical cells, like lithium-ion batteries, which is the same, to be fair, it's the same chemistry, it's just in a different form factor. They say you can actually go down to 2.5 volts without damaging the battery. So,
yeah, I'm not comfortable with that, but
yeah,
mine's usually around 3.7.
3.7 is actually even the storage voltage. That's the voltage at which you should store your Lipos if you're doing a long time. So you're going real easy on your batteries, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's longevity. Depending on the capacity, the voltage, they can get pretty expensive. So I want these things to last and also not puff.
Oh yeah, ever since the postal services started refusing to deliver lithium batteries, they're getting really expensive. At least you as an American, you have access to Hobby King. They have American warehouses, but me as a Canadian, if I want to order from Hobby King US, the shipping is like $30. So if I'm ordering 4 or 5 batteries, it's still not worth it. Do you shop at Hobby King at all?
No, actually I haven't. I've looked on their website. I wasn't aware that they had US warehouses.
Oh yeah.
Last time I looked, I remember they wanted some astronomical shipping, so I haven't shopped there. I've bought my batteries on Amazon, actually, and I've had good luck.
That's awesome.
But I've done a lot of research, a lot of reviews on, because they sell all names of batteries, and I don't want to buy a dud, something that's going to puff on me, because these manufacturers can just make a battery that will work for a little bit and then go south on you real quick.
I think the biggest deal in battery manufacturer is exaggerating the ratings, and not so much
Mm-hmm.
the capacity ratings, because you and I, when we buy a battery, I mean, it's easy. We run it the first time until it's completely empty, and by completely empty, in your case, 3.7 volts, and mine would be about 3.3. And then we slap it on the charger, and if the charger doesn't give us a milliamp hour charge that we were expecting, boom, we're contacting the manufacturer. I think the biggest place where they cheat is the C rating, like the maximum current that the battery can put out. They always say, it's 50 C or 125 C, which means 50 times the rating or 125 times the rating. And that's difficult to test because I don't want to pull 500 amps out of my Lipo battery, especially in my house. That's scary.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That's what I've seen too. A lot of these reviews of their rating it. I'm looking at, getting new 3 cell batteries at 50C, and a lot of these reviews, I don't know how they're testing them, but they're saying, yeah, it's half that, and that discharge rating will definitely help with obviously the amount of output that you're getting. So, yeah, you definitely depends on the application you're looking for, but for what I'm looking for is I just need that bit of pep to sometimes bump over a ledge, and I need that on tap.
Absolutely. And for those of you listening, the discharge rating will also give you an idea of the internal resistance of the battery itself. And so the higher C rated batteries will have a lower internal resistance, which means that when you're discharging it, even at like half of its rated discharge rate, it means that you're not warming up the battery as much during charge and discharge cycles, even, at lower currents. So typically, with lithium batteries, just like with any mechanical contraption, the cooler you can keep it, the longer it'll last. And again, if you're spending, a couple $100 on a couple of batteries, then yeah, you want to take care of those things. But you said that your RC hobby brought you into electronics. Can you talk to me a little bit about the transition, like what happened to make you interested in electronics?
Sure. Yeah, so with the RC rock crawler I have, what I like about that specific genre of the hobby is there's a big customization aspect to it. A lot of guys will build completely custom rigs with metal roll cages and 3D printed bodies or bodies made out of styrene. It's not just what you see is what you get when you get out of the hobby shop. So I took it on myself. I saw a lot of guys doing custom lighting. Some, with the help of YouTube, I've seen custom, just little trick electronics. And I took it on myself to do some of that myself, and not pay, a company or somebody else to have the finished product, but take that on myself to build something custom. So I've started, simple, like I said, I got a multimeter from Harbor Freight, cheap soldering iron, learned where I could acquire just even small gauge wire free. I found out you can strip Cat 5 cable,
Oh, yes, you can.
already shielded wire, just for LEDs, that kind of thing, and also cheap sources that I could buy small electronics from, for future projects.
I'll tell you, it wasn't all that long ago when I started in electronics. It might have been 4 or 5 years, maybe a little bit more, but I was kind of exposed to it through my career anyways. But there's something satisfying about going on, let's say, going to your local hobby shop and seeing that they sell like a light bar for your RC car, and then you think, why would I buy this? I feel like I can make this. And then you go home and you make it, and it doesn't matter how simple it seems now. At the time, it was a major triumph. Like, have you done anything like that, like custom lights and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm working on. I have just LED 3 millimeter and 5 millimeter just regular LED bulbs. the little ones, and it wouldn't take too much to wire up something that connects to my receiver. So that's pretty simple. But I'm looking to, like you're saying, make my own custom light bar. It's not super difficult. You can use a 5-volt strip or a 12-volt strip, and solder on a servo lead to it to connect to your receiver. Depending on the voltage, receiver only puts out around 5 to 6 volts, so 12-volt strip's not going to work. You can solder on a female JST plug to your 3S battery on the balancing lead. You can run 12 volts straight from there. So that's what I'm looking to do on certain applications on the truck. But I made a custom tilt meter. I have a 3D printer, so I designed a custom rear bumper, and I used some addressable LEDs in the back, individuals, soldered them up, and then put a servo lead on there, and it connects to its proprietary. It looks like a proprietary programming card called a Circuit Playground Express from Adafruit. And I basically made a enclosure for that on the 3D printer that looks like a fuel cell. So if I tilt more than 60 degrees either way, right or left, it will turn on one of the brake lights. So if you're directly behind it, it works really well. But a lot of times you're standing over the truck, so it's more for looks than anything.
So you actually glossed over quite a bit of stuff here. So a project like that is very multidisciplinary, and I feel like a lot of us that are interested in electronics, it's not just electronics that we get into. So let's start from the beginning, because so first of all, you had a problem you wanted to solve, right? You wanted to see, you wanted to know how far you're tilted and have a visual indicator, correct?
Correct.
So you went and what was your plan of attack for that? Like what made you how did you decide to start that, first of all?
I saw a like product on a YouTube channel that did the same thing, and I knew enough about that there was Arduinos out there, and other like products, and some of them already had integrated other components, like an accelerometer, for instance. So I did research first with that, because I knew that you could then you could program that, and you could output whatever you wanted. And I stumbled across these addressable LEDs at the same time when I was looking at Adafruit. I picked the Circuit Playground Express because it had all these built-in sensors on it already, and I didn't have to stack. Like with Arduino, you have to stack extra stuff onto it to make whatever functionality you want on it.
Okay, so the Circuit Playground Express, it's a I'm guessing it's a microcontroller board with a bunch of sensors already on it.
Correct. So it has some capacitive touch solder points on the outside. It has, digital I/O pins, not pins, but pads. It has an accelerometer. It has addressable LEDs. There's 10 of them in a ring already soldered on there.
Oh, nice.
It has a couple buttons, like a really chintzy speaker on it. So it's good. It's a good educational tool, and I forgot how much flash memory it has. It's like 32K. It's really small. But it has the micro USB port, so you can program something up, and it accepts make code, which is I think a Microsoft product. It accepts Circuit Python and accepts Arduino, I think, also.
Interesting.
So you can just like drag and drop your script on there, and it will take it and run with it.
And how big is this thing physically?
It is, let's see. It's not terribly big. I don't have anything to compare it to. It's bigger than a silver dollar.
Okay. So it's just
Let's
basically
see.
maybe a couple inches by couple inches, 3 inches by 3 inches.
Yeah, I don't have the exact measurements on me.
Okay, so
Um,
2 3 inches, like maybe 3 inches for the viewers, about 10 centimeters. So 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, something like that. So it's pretty small. A 10th scale truck is actually, it's not that big either. That's why I was kind of wondering how you fit all that in, because I mean that's 3 inch by 3 inches, fairly sizable, right?
yeah, like I said, I don't know the exact measurements, but when I mocked up um, the enclosure for it and wanted to make sure I knew where I wanted to put it. It was going to be on the rear deck, on the rear bed. So sure enough, it fit perfectly and looks somewhat scale, that realistic. Um, my alternative was to get a Arduino Nano, something small, and hide it somewhere. Um, but I knew I didn't have to buy anything extra with this microcontroller to make it work.
Yeah, I'm just looking at images on, just did a Google image search there, and it does. I think that's about accurate, like 2.5 or 3 inches, and it's a circle. For those of you listening to the audio, it's just a circle, and it really looks like it has pads all the way around, but they look they're bigger than pin header pads. They have holes that are a couple mils across, and yeah, then there's an inner ring of those addressable LEDs, like Stephen was saying. There's I can see 2 buttons. I can see a microcontroller. So it does look like a fairly good product for a beginner. I may have to pick one up and take a look at it on the channel, because I've never even heard of this thing, and it seems like a really good thing for beginners to take off with. So that's pretty neat. So you're actually measuring the tilt based on the accelerometer then built in.
Correct, right. So you can address what axis you want the accelerometer to read off of, and then programming in your variables on. It measures not necessarily the degrees, but units of gravity.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
So I had to kind of play with that and trying to find the sweet spot on the units of gravity, negative and positive on the x-axis to get that to work.
It looks like it has an AT Mega 32U4 microcontroller on it. So yeah, definitely you could write Arduino IDE for it, and yeah, it's incredible. They pack a lot of stuff into there. Thanks for bringing that up, because I've never even heard of this thing.
Yeah, it's great. For the price, I've had a lot of fun with it. Those pads on the outside work really great for those test leads with the alligator clips on them.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, they attach great on there. They're easy to solder to. I know I've seen some makers use the same microcontroller, and so what's that called? Like capacitive touch. It's that thread that can hold like electricity to a certain degree.
I'm not.
It's like they put this thread in like gloves, so you can touch your smartphone.
Yeah,
Well, with gloves on, that kind of thread.
yeah.
So they've sewed that onto those contact pads and then sewn it into a piece of clothing.
Oh yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, so it's quite capable.
So since you're not that far into electronics as a hobby, as you were saying, you said about a year, right? Plus or minus?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. I'm good enough to do some soldering, make some LED lights. I've yet to burn anything out.
knock on wood.
Yeah.
So for people who are RC enthusiasts, and they've been wanting to take the first steps towards sort of Arduino-y type stuff, do you have any words of wisdom that you've learned along the way that you could share and maybe save someone a little bit of frustration?
Arduino based. What I did was I went on. You can probably find one of these Arduino kits. I got it on Amazon. You can probably find it elsewhere too, but I got it through was it Elegoo? I think they're Chinese based.
They are, yes.
But for $35 you get the Arduino Uno, um, the jumper wires, motors, servo. I mean, all these other little pieces of kit that and that were great, and they on their website per kit they have all the PDFs of each little part, so you can throw that code in the IDE and it will work as long as you got everything hooked up. But for me, I'm still learning the Arduino coding part of it. I'm good enough to be dangerous of kind of just understanding it and changing some variables if need be, but not writing anything from scratch yet.
Oh, I feel you. I'm terrible at code. And I think if you've watched my channel, you would understand that. I'm just, I'm still at the point I can write. I'm at the point where I can write a little bit of code, but mostly it's sort of picking up example code and snippets from here and there and smashing it all together until it functions. And that's why I don't do a lot of code tutorials on my channel. For me, it's mostly I'll write something like, I don't know if you watch the RGB LED video, but for those of you who have that code.
No, I haven't yet.
You haven't yet. That's totally fine. But for those of you who have, that's the kind of code that I'm comfortable with doing. Stuff like writing to OLEDs and stuff, I can do that too, but it takes me about twice the amount of time. So yeah, I try to avoid code as much as I can, but I think at some point I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and really like dive into it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It really comes down to time and attention. I only have so much free time in any given day, and usually my attention is fixing some. If I do have any time, I'm on the workbench, modifying or fixing one of these trucks I have, RC trucks. So, I'm with you on just I'm really good at Googling what I'm looking for, and I can try to smash something together code wise.
But if we're talking about ways that you spend your time, you told me in a conversation before this recording that you like fishing, and I recently found out that you live on the coast. So I'm guessing you do ocean fishing. What kind of fishing do you do?
I do, yeah. I do saltwater fishing. I usually, I fish in the ocean and the bays, and I'm usually just catch and release, but I'm after anything that bites. So we have a lot of species around us, and so you can get anything from halibut to bass to shark, rays. So it's a lot of fun. You don't really know what you're going to get on any given day.
Do you watch any of the fishing YouTubers? Because I know I do. So I'm gonna name drop in a second here. But anything that appeals to you?
Fishing YouTubers, I do, but it's mostly fly fishing.
Okay, that makes sense though, because fly fishing is a little bit more of a sort of a finesse thing. I think at least
it is. So I'm into both. Spin fishing is a little bit more convenient, just because of the line management issue. But I do saltwater fly fish. So I was into tying my own flies for a while before I got into the RC hobby. So I'm kind of bouncing around all over the place.
Very nice. I watch Fisherman's Life, who's based in San Francisco, and his take on fishing is awesome. I wish I was near the ocean, but I'm the closest ocean to me, I guess, would be the Atlantic, and that's about 14 hours of a car ride away. But yeah, he does basically like you do, like basically rock fishing, right? I guess that's what it's called. Usually getting up rockfish and stuff. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we don't. For us, rockfish is you have to go out on a boat out in the ocean to get rockfish. Not from. I usually do shore fishing.
Really? Because he does all his rock fishing from shore, which is completely different.
Maybe it's just specific to San Francisco.
Yeah, maybe in that area. I know he goes down to Southern California with his boat often to get tuna, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Or salmon? No, salmon.
Yep.
Not tuna, salmon.
Probably tuna.
Really? Okay, I could be.
In Southern California.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my geography could be a bit off. But yeah, he has a lot of really good videos. From fishing from shore, fishing from the boat, and just his personality is really good stuff. What do you like about going out fishing? Is it the relaxation, like the stereotype would suggest?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's it's a good way to unwind. I'm usually between working on a computer all day. Um, it's a good way to unwind for half an hour, an hour. Depends on the day, but yeah, it's just letting the brain unwind and just enjoying a good evening out on the water.
Very nice. Yeah, I don't personally own a boat, and we have only freshwater around us. But Canada does have like a ton of lakes, and there's a river going through my city. So if any of the viewers want to look at a satellite image, you see the Ottawa River flowing through Ottawa, and in there we're multi-species as well. So very similar to you, we have freshwater bass, large and smallmouth. We have pike. We have catfish. We have, I think all in all we have about 15 or so species, and it's really not that far from anyone who lives sort of in the most densely populated areas of Ottawa. So, but for me, I don't know about the relaxation because I typically relax by watching YouTube. Really, I guess guilty of wasting my time like that, but typically I love the feeling of the bite, right? When something grabs it and runs,
Yeah,
that's an incredible
yeah,
feeling.
yeah. I agree with you on that. Yeah, to have that resistance of knowing that something is alive on the other end is such a rush.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't really. I don't care what size of fish it is. That I know I have something.
Oh, 100%.
Um, it's great because I've fished for panfish before, and it's all that fishing for them on a light line. It feels like you got a big fish on there, and you don't. They just fight really good.
For those of you that don't know, panfish refers to typically the species of fish that are smaller, and they call them panfish colloquially because you just throw a bunch of them in a pan to cook up because they're really they're tiny. So typically they'd be under around here. A panfish would be considered anything under about 8 inches in length, so about 22 centimeters or so. Is that about accurate for what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's about right. Yeah, so you're talking about crappies, bluegill, different. You got different types of bluegill. Yeah, those type of fish.
Yep. You'll see. So here, for like for example, we have sunfish, which is a common panfish, and our daily catch limit is, I think it's about 50. So you're allowed to possess 50 of them, just to give you an idea of the size of these panfish. They're typically very small. There's a lot of cultures around here that like to turn panfish into soups, which makes a lot of sense because if you're going to fillet a panfish, you're going to spend 10 minutes to get a couple grams worth of meat. It's really difficult to get a lot of meat out of them.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, they're from what I've heard is they're best to deep fry.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense actually. Do you guys have like a lot of freshwater stuff around you, or is it pretty much all salt?
Um, we 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 do have nothing like what from what it sounds like where you're at, but they're mostly reservoirs though. Um, so there's pretty good fishing. Usually it's bass, and then they stock it with trout. There's carp in there too in these reservoirs.
Oh, there's carp everywhere,
Um,
man.
yeah, they're actually really fun to catch. Um, they pull really hard
Oh yeah.
once you hook one
I
up.
had something like a
Uh,
30-pound carp on, and he almost spooled me, which means he almost took all the line off for those of you listening at home.
yeah,
Um, and I caught him
they're
basically at
they're
my
really
feet.
strong.
Oh yeah, they're huge. They're massive. I don't think they're good to eat, but
Yeah,
there are some cultures who believe that that fried carp is like the best food. I don't blame them. It's just not for
that's
me.
that's what I've heard too. For both sides of the coin they taste really good, but it's a cultural thing, and then others most people won't even touch them. It's more of a catch and release, or they use them for bait for something else.
Yeah, so here they're invasive, but they're not invasive to the point where there's an order to kill them. Like there's a couple fish like the snakeheads and the some sort of goby that you're supposed to destroy and contact the natural resources people. But the carp are invasive, but there's no such order on them yet. I know there are some places in the States where like silver carp is decimating the local wildlife, and you could fish them all you want, but you're not going to even make a dent in their populations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the Asian carp. And yeah, they're highly invasive compared to the common carp. Yeah, you won't even make a dent. I don't. That's above my pay grade on how to control those guys.
Oh yeah, I know. I've watched videos where they go out with boats and the propellers make them jump. So they have these boats which have netting all around them, and the carp jump and they jump into the netting, and basically that's how they try to control them. They just catch them like that. And the worst part is that nobody really likes eating them. So like, what do? It's all kind of goes to waste, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure what they do with them. I hope they make them into fertilizer or something.
Yeah, they must do something like that. Do you have invasive species in the ocean near you?
Not in the ocean. We do have, like I said, we have carp. We don't have snakehead. Depends on what reservoir you fish at. There's rules on if you catch a carp, you kill it and throw it in the trash. Actually, you can't even throw it in the trash. You have to take it with you.
Oh, that makes sense. In
Yeah.
case it has eggs
Yeah, something
or
like
sperm,
that.
because they fertilize just in open water, so that makes
Right.
sense. On our
Yeah.
east coast, we have invasive crab. We have green crab. I think they're green. Yeah, green crab. They only grow a couple inches across, maybe 6 inches, 15 centimeters across, and apparently they taste like garbage. But because they're so successful at breeding, they're actually pushing out the native crabs, and so they don't know what to do with them either. And I think there's one government program which is turning them into, like, grinding them up and turning them into like aquarium fish food, basically. But other than that, they're like impossible to catch because they live in the same places that commercial crab live. And so if you set traps for them and you don't check them every day, you end up snaring so many of the local crabs that you become part of the problem as well.
Right. Right. Yeah. The invasive species. There's no easy answer for them. Depends on, depending on if they're in the water or on land. It's usually because they breed so well. That's usually most of the problem.
100%. Do you go crabbing in California?
No, I haven't. I've done some lobster fishing, unsuccessfully, but um, that's about it.
I think with your like for electronics, I think it'd be interesting to throw like a GoPro into a crab pot and see what it looks like underwater.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, with lobster fishing, you throw the pod in the water and you wait about half an hour and then pull it up again, and you do that throughout the night. It's kind of boring. So, so I tend to just to fish.
This YouTuber I watch, Fisherman's Life, which I mentioned, he does crab snaring. So you have like a little, it looks like, I don't know if you know those bird feeders that you put suet in, so it looks like a little cage.
Okay.
So you put squid and stuff in there, and then you have a lawnmower line coming off the side, making a loop, and it's open-ended. And the crab, they try real hard to get the squid, and if the viewers don't know, squid is kind of tough. It's like rubbery, and so they're eating the squid, and their claws or their legs get stuck in these lawnmower lines, and then you reel it in, and the lawnmower lines like cinch down onto their limbs, and then you get yourself some crab to eat. Really interesting.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah,
Wouldn't even think to do that.
I know.
I've seen that with like rodent traps, but nothing with like a crab trap.
I said, you know what? You should give it a shot, and if it succeeds, you should let me know, because apparently those Dungeness crabs are something like $20 a pound or something.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
And so you can go out there, and in a day, I think there must be a catch limit, but I think it's like 4 or 5. So like you could end up with $120 worth of crab. Could be a good investment.
Very true.
So other than that, I think we should start wrapping it up. But I have a question that I ask all of my guests, and this is supposed to catch you a little bit off guard. So if you have to think about it for a second, don't sweat it. But this question goes: if you get a government grant, but the government grant is given to you to start the business of your dreams, profitability is not a concern, but it does have to be like a business. It has to either provide a service or a product. What kind of business would you start with that?
A government grant.
Yeah, just basically the setup is you get free money, but you have to build a
Okay,
business
so it
out of it.
doesn't. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be charitable.
No. It's charitable to you because you get the
Wow.
grant.
I've always thought it'd be kind of cool. I haven't seen this in the RC hobby, but other hobbies, and kind of the new thing is a subscription box, of you name it, women's products. I've seen it in a hunting fishing world of you get a subscription box every month. Um, I always thought it'd be kind of cool to have something like that in the RC hobby, because you deal with consumables, you deal with you always need new screws, wiring, um, little tube of grease, that kind of thing, stuff that you go through a lot.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
great idea. Something even you can add like servos or servo horns to that,
yeah,
springs.
right. A lot of these boxes they throw in something, they get some work with some manufacturer, and they get probably a really good discount on buying a big lot of something that is $20 or less, which could be, a lot of these brush motors are, you can get, they're really good. You can get them for $20 or less. You throw in something nice, uh, 1 month to kind of keep everybody happy. So that's a purely selfish idea, the business to create, but that's something I've been kicking around.
I think that's pretty brilliant because I'm trying to think. There's a lot of I mean, it's a huge range of the RC hobby, like what could be involved. But I'm trying to think. Even though I'm not into some specific hobbies, like I wouldn't be upset if I got like a motor or a servo or like a set of lights or even even an extra receiver, even if it's not like my brand of receiver. Like you never have enough RC stuff, really. It's impossible.
Yeah, like I've slowly, I got one of those small parts organizers from Harbor Freight. It's like 40 drawers, and I got that on my workbench. I got that recently, but I've been slowly stocking up on stuff that I go through a lot. Screws. I got drawers for LED lights, and 3 millimeter washers or M3 washers. Um, Stuff that I usually drop on my shop floor and I can't find again. Yeah, it's usually where it goes.
Oh yeah, it's gone
Um,
forever.
yeah, it's gone. It's a black
It
hole.
falls between dimensions,
But
I'm pretty sure, half the time.
yeah, usually I can never find anything. So I got the idea to buy little packs of stuff and always keep that stuff on hand, so I can not go to the hardware store constantly and fix stuff right then and there.
Yeah, I may or may not have a constant stream of stuff coming from China. I cannot confirm or
Yeah,
deny that.
yeah, me too. Yeah, yeah. I found AliExpress as being quite handy.
I go back and forth, between eBay and AliExpress because AliExpress typically I find that the prices are slightly better aside from like post corona because now nobody wants to ship to Canada, but the prices tend to be a little bit better. But the eBay claims like for stuff that hasn't shown up is way better than AliExpress. I find AliExpress never sides with me, but eBay almost always does. Did you find anything like that?
I have yet to shop for electronics on eBay. I I've started randomly, you know, I had the idea of just having everything on hand. So I started sourcing these goods, and I don't need anything, especially these electronic parts. I don't need anything, cheap is okay, especially starting out, learning how to put everything together. So if I, burn something out, I'm not out much. So I started shopping on AliExpress during the pandemic, which was kind of risky. And I've never shopped on there before, but I've heard good things from some of these guys on the RC community. I was always a little leery of ordering things because is it going to be good quality? Am I ever going to see it? Are they going to steal my credit card information? That kind of thing. So I took a risk, and I've noticed things are showing up faster now, but I've yet to had to talk straight to AliExpress about having a dispute with something. I usually go to the vendor first, but it's not due to something not showing up. I just know it's going to take a while, which is okay. It's fine for me. Like I had one dispute with the vendor. I got some resistors and they were the wrong wattage. They were 2 watts. I needed 5 watts or something like that. And they refunded me, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning their time. And they refunded me instantly.
Well, that's good to hear.
I mean, it was only a couple bucks, but yeah. I think I paid through PayPal for it. And yeah, it was like $1.40, I think. They're super responsive, and I just put in an order a couple days ago, and I got a message from the vendor stating, "Oh, this product, we're getting a lot of complaints that it wasn't good quality. So if you don't mind, please cancel your order, and we'll let you know when the vendor we work with gets these back in stock and better quality or whatever." So I've had really good experience with it.
Well, that's really positive. I'm glad you're having a good experience. But yeah, for those of you listening at home, definitely sort of abstracting the like giving your credit card information to places like AliExpress is good. If you could choose to use PayPal, I would definitely choose that. And that's the great thing about eBay, is because eBay themselves will deal with your claim. If eBay tells you to go pound sand, you can open your claim with PayPal. And if that doesn't work, then you can open your claim with your credit card company if you use a credit card. So there's sort of like a cascading thing there that you could try. AliExpress was harder for me because at first they were shipping way slower than eBay. So eBay would be like 3 weeks. AliExpress would be something like 6 weeks. And by the time you got to 6 weeks, it was too late. Like AliExpress would be like, yeah, it's too late. We're not doing anything for you. But again, these things change all the time. So it's important to not take that for not take that as a like take it with a grain of salt, basically.
Right. What I do is I either use PayPal. They usually tack on like 80 cents per purchase. But if I have like PayPal credit, I'll use PayPal. But I usually use like one of those prepaid Visa cards.
Okay, yeah,
So that way I'm not giving my credit card information straight to whoever wants it,
yeah,
basically.
that's a good call. And for
Yeah.
you specifically, because you're into RC stuff, and I would recommend poking around banggood.com. And it's not a sponsor of the episode or anything. I just find that they have more brands available to them than you can easily find on AliExpress or eBay, and the prices tend to be very competitive for RC stuff specifically. Electronics modules and stuff, I find it's cheaper on Ali and on eBay, but Banggood for RC stuff could be really good. Like when FreeSky was really popular and the It thing, if the FreeSky stuff was 20% cheaper from Banggood. And again, you as an American, they have American warehouses too, which is great because then
Oh, that's
yeah,
nice.
you get your stuff in like 3-4 days, and sometimes they have free shipping for U.S. citizens from U.S. warehouses. So that's another place to go look for lipos and chargers and motors and replacement parts for your RC cars. I know, like my fifth scale, I have a fifth scale buggy that I just sold not too long ago. Banggood was a great place to get the parts for that.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I've checked it out a couple times. I think I haven't even have an account, but I haven't purchased anything just because, just with AliExpress, I was a little hesitant on ordering anything and shipping, and um, uh, I haven't bought anything really expensive, more than $20 on AliExpress. Um, I'm a little leery of getting hit with what do they call it, import tax, like a customs fee.
Yep.
It seems a little like they put that fee on random stuff. I don't know the kind of mindset of what items they put that fee on. So, and it's a certain percentage. So I'm I'm a little hesitant to buy anything expensive
So
on
I
there.
can only tell you how it works in Canada, but the only times that I get charged with an import fee in Canada is if the item came from the US and it wasn't built in Canada, US, or Mexico. So basically, the importation fee, you can go onto your country's sort of customs website. They have a list of stuff that they'll just always tack a tariff on. But for Canada at least, if the item is built in China and it comes from China, we don't pay customs. If it was built in China but it comes from the US, then we pay a customs fee. So it's basically it's because of we're all signatories of NAFTA. I don't know how it works now because the current administration changed some stuff. So, trying not to get into politics, but this stuff could be different. But I know that I only get dinged from customs if it actually came from the States or Mexico without it being made in the States or Mexico. So anything direct from
Okay.
China, I've never ever, and I think I must be up over 300 purchases now and still nothing.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll have to check that out. Looking to get one of those reheat guns, the like these rework guns.
Yep, I have the 858D here.
Okay, so I've been pricing those out. I think uh, I don't really need it for flowing solder to create a PCB board or something like that, but I think it might help desoldering a lot of the salvage parts I have in the shop.
Oh, absolutely. It's great for that. But for that, check Amazon because from
Yeah.
time and like from time to time, the Amazon stuff is the same price as the Chinese stuff in some cases. Because I think what they do is they ship them over on pallets, and then they just resell it on Amazon.com, for example.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I've seen. I have one in my cart for about 28 bucks. So that's about kind of right around the sweet spot I've seen on AliExpress.
And a little tip for you and the viewers: if you shop on Amazon, there's a website called Camel 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 where you basically go onto that website, you copy the link from the product you want on Amazon, paste it into that website, and it'll give you the pricing history of it and let you know how low it's been, how high it's been, what's the average price. It gives you a graph, and then you can sign up for email alerts when that item drops below a predetermined amount. So let's say it's 28 bucks right now, but you only want to buy it when it's 19.99. You've noticed it's turned 19.99 four times in the past, so you just put 19.99 in the website, and they send you an email if it ever goes to 19.99 or lower, and then you can just buy it directly from. You basically click the link; it's an affiliate link for them, and you don't pay more, but they get a commission on it. That's how they make their money.
Yeah, I've used that site before and it works great. Um,
Yeah, I love
yeah, you can
Camel,
put in
Camel,
anything you
Camel.
want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
PC parts and whatever. Well, listen, we have to wrap this up. It was really nice for you to take the time out of your busy schedule to come chat with me on this podcast. Do you have anywhere specific where the viewers can maybe interact with you? Any social media at all?
Yeah, the only kind of public facing social media I have is on Instagram. It's Oak to Salt on Instagram. That's Oak Tree, and two is TO Salt. It's a hunting and fishing, um, public facing profile, but slowly kind of showing off some RC stuff, kind of what's on my bench, and I think I have a video or two or a picture of my tilt meter on there. Um, but yeah, that's kind of if you want to interact with me, and that's probably the best spot to do that.
That's awesome. And when I end up making an Instagram account, I'll make sure to follow you on Instagram. So thank you so much for spending your time with me today. And to the viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to the Simple Electronics podcast. We hope to catch you in the next one. Have a good one.